Hi again then guys, so I've got another GranTurismo 6 top speed tune for you today, and this time it's for the Mines Evo 6 Lancer. So you want your race and soft tyres as usual. For suspension, we've actually got a slightly different ride height to what we'd usually have, and the reason for this is because, and this is purely personal preference, but the front end of this Evo is lower than the back, and I personally don't like that look. I think it looks dumb. So basically all I've done is made the body even. So I've raised the front to 100, lowered the back to 90, just to flatten out the shape of its stance. Obviously you don't have to do that, that's just, like I said, personal preference. Springs we've rounded off to 1150 and 1025, dampers and anti-roll to 4, camber on 2 because it's already a very good handling car, neutral toe as always. For the gearbox we've got an auto setting of 230, for the individual gears we've rounded those off to 2160, 1345, 930, 685 and 535 with a final drive of 4.2. For the diff, we can't adjust the front torque, but we've got the back as low as possible, and for acceleration as high as possible, and braking as low as possible. For the torque split, we've got 30-70 to reduce high speed understeer, the high RPM turbo, and although I haven't fitted it, as always, I would recommend NOS. You cannot adjust the downforce on this one, but if you fit the custom wing, then you can, but I'm personally not a fan of that, so that's down to, again, personal choice. And obviously, you want weight loss. Traction control is, of course, turned off, as always. And so this car's actually pretty cool, and not particularly because it's an Evo or anything like that, but purely because usually on GranTurismo, tuner cars seem to be significantly slower than their stock counterparts. So for instance, the Mines Skyline or the HKS Evo, they are slower than the normal versions when fully tuned, which is weird. Kind of makes you wonder why they went to the trouble of putting the tuner cars in the game if they're going to just make them inferior. Seems kind of pointless. But in this case, it's actually not inferior. The top speed on this is around the same as the normal Evo 6, which is of course a premium car, which is pretty cool. I believe it's not quite a strong top end, but it is still very quick for an Evo. Top speed is just over 230 under its own power. That's without NOS, without draft, and that's not downhill, that's on a flat road. So again, for an Evo, pretty good. And although it does have more power than the Mitsubishi version, it's still not a huge amount of power. So its top speed is pretty good for its power output, especially on a vehicle which, like the Subaru Impreza, is not really designed for top speed. So, pretty good performance really. As far as draft, well, as you can see, it's very close to the red line. You're virtually on the red line, just cruising. So I'm not sure where the actual red line of this car is, but I think it's about 7,500 at best. So you're probably only going to get about 240 out of it, best case scenario with this tune. So this is purely for the car under its own power, rather than for high speed slipstreaming. So if you do need it to go faster with draft, as usual, just extend the final drive, say 0.300 or 0.400 lower, and you'll get plenty more draft potential. You'll be able to easily draft up to 260, 270 or whatever speed you need to get to. Like I said, it's a very good handling car. That's not surprising. The Evo's known for having good handling, tons of grip, and it is actually one of the quicker tuner cars. It's not the quickest, but it is quicker than many of them, and in some cases cars which you would expect to be quicker, like tuned Skylines. So overall, it's a pretty good car, and it's also cheaper than some of the other tuner cars. It is expensive, it's 150 grand, but that's still a lot cheaper than some of the other tuner cars. So I hope you guys find this tune setup helpful. If you did, feel free to subscribe. I put out new top speed tunes every day. And as always, thanks for watching.